This presentation provides information on what students need to be a good digital citizen, why it is needed, and how it can be taught. Today, students have incredible opportunities to acquire knowledge from any device that can access the internet. The problem is that there is a dark side of the internet where there are way too many incidents of students victimized by cyberbullying, students volunteering personal information online, and students posting immature photographs of themselves. We need to know what digital citizenship is and what makes students that use technology good digital citizens. Even though its history has only been around since the 90s, its backstory dates back much further. What are the techniques that leaders and educators need to broaden their knowledge of teaching digital citizenship on a global scale and the intricacies that go with it? Being technologically aware is a positive habit that needs to begin in the classroom, but it should also be encouraged by teachers to maintain the positive habits once students are out of the classroom, as to make certain that they stay good digital citizens for a lifetime. What is digital citizenship? Well, it's all about teaching students on how to be responsible, safe, effective, and aware while on the internet with their digital devices. They use technology to educate themselves and for online civic engagement by participating in their communities and contributing to society. To ensure digital citizenship is championed nationwide, schools are incorporating technology and the proper instruction of technology along with learning opportunities to form students that want to use technology to affect policy, better their community, and get along with others that have different opinions than theirs. What is the history of digital citizenship? Well, the idea of technology raising ethical considerations did not start with computers. Prior to computers, the most recent major tool to change society and education specifically was the printing press. What the printing press allowed a way of sharing ideas with the masses and forever changed how we looked at learning in the educational field. Moving forward with the growth of technology in the 50s and 60s, when telephones and televisions came into many homes, continues this trend of sharing information across vast areas in a short amount of time. Marshall McLuhan, in his 1964 classic Understanding Media, The Extensions of Man, proposed that the medium itself, not the content it carries, should be the focus of study. In other words, it was becoming apparent that the behavior associated with the technology was just as critical as the message coming from the technology. During the 1990s, technology users recognized that there needed to be structure to what was considered appropriate and inappropriate use of technology, and the interest in computer ethics grew rapidly during the 1990s. At that time, the world was just beginning to settle in and embrace personal digital technology as something that was here to stay. The term digital citizenship started to show up in the classroom. And in those early days, the term was more related to the actual access to technology and the proper way in which to use it, focusing on the hard skills and digital literacy. According to Dr. Leanne Lindsay, she describes digital citizenship evolution as Dig Sit 1.0, which is the early days, Dig Sit 2.0, which is the present form, and Dig Sit 3.0, which is in the future. She views the first period of digital citizenship from year 2000 to around 2015, when an ever-increasing number of students were using technology, and educators began to see the issues or the problems arise. Online predators luring kids would bring up safety issues, and keeping kids away from sex sites would spark legality and responsibility issues. So Dixit 1.0 was considered reactionary, and the primary goal was to keep kids away from the bad stuff. The tone of Dixit 2 changed from what I can't do to what I can do, with the goal of digital participation as a benefit, putting students in control of their digital life, with informed instruction as a guidance. The focus on responsible use expanded to technology use, aligned to value and ethics. Dixit 3.0 looks forward to new ways of viewing technology and our ever evolving relation with it. There are some dangers, though, and the wonders of technology are amazing. There are an endless amount of information found on the internet that can be powerful and exciting. But there are risks that come with technology. Everything from cybersecurity threats that can jeopardize personal information or an entire identity to false or illegal information, hate speech, or pornography. To the uninformed, the internet can be a hazardous place. According to LexisNexis Risk Solutions, the number of digital transactions has increased over 42% year over year, and 60% of those transactions happened over a mobile device. And with it, there was a 48% increase in fraud attacks in those mobile transactions. With more and more transactions happening over a wireless device, the increased attacks were destined to increase as well. Cyberbullying has been an increased problem. According to the team at security.org, who studied parents of children between the ages of 10 and 18, state that 21% of those children have been cyberbullied, with 56% of those reports occurring between January and July of 2020 alone. The reason they theorize is the upward trend that was caused by the increased time spent online during the COVID-19 lockdowns. As of January 2020, 44% of all internet users in the US say they have experienced online harassment, with the most prevalent type of online harassment being offensive name calling, which made up 37% of all instances. Something that is instrumental in practicing good digital citizenship is having a healthy awareness of something called emotional intelligence, which can make us all better communicators in the digital environment. In Emotional Intelligence, What It Means for Kids, author Peg Rosen explains emotional intelligence as the ability to be smart about feelings, as in our own and in other people's. It involves being able to notice, understand, and act on emotions in an effective way. Daniel Coleman, noted psychologist and author of Emotional Intelligence, Why It Can Matter More Than IQ, explains how emotional intelligence can have 5 basic parts. Self-awareness, when people know what they're feeling at a particular time and understand how their moods affect others. Self-regulation, when people can control how they respond to their emotions. They consider possible consequences before acting on impulse. Motivation, when people can accomplish goals in spite of negative or distracting feelings they may be having. Empathy, when people can understand how others feel. Social skills, when people can manage relationships. They know what kind of behaviors get a positive response from others. Blended learning. There really is no standard lesson plan needed to make it happen, yet there can be some learning techniques that can be used that will be effective. One of the most useful methods to teach digital citizenship is through blended learning, which mixes traditional learning experiences with online and mobile technology. Blended learning is a combination of 2 separate learning teaching models, traditional face-to-face learning system and distributed learning system with emphasis on computer-based technologies. Discuss relevant themes. Digital citizenships has many topics linked to it that can be openly discussed, like freedom of speech or how technologies affect the user's mental, emotional, social, and physical health, which can be categorized as digital well-being. Being overly connected to technology can cause psychological issues like distraction, narcissism, instant gratification expectations, and maybe even depression. The research on the harms of cyberbullying continues to grow, and so does the evidence that finds across all groups. Youth who are victimized online fare worse compared to youth who do not experience victimization. Digital literacy. Students of all ages tend to be glued to their devices, yet most do not adapt to using technology to solve problems. What is worse is that most are unaware that their low skills are putting their future opportunities in jeopardy. The myth is that using technology often means that it's being used well. This is where digital literacy needs to be addressed. It has been described best as a multidimensional concept that includes a range of skills, from technical use of digital device to cognitive processing and communication skills of interacting with others online. Discussing digital literacy with young people will have them better understand how to use the technology and fulfill its promise as an integral part of human productivity, creativity, and invention. Digital citizenship is not something that just happens in students and young people. It's a technique and a skill that needs to be actively and systematically taught. Preparing a generation of digital citizens is the most important thing we can do to ensure a democracy for the future.